Hi, everybody. Today I'm here to discuss the profession of social work and social work practice because social work is indeed a health career, but it also falls under being a helping profession. What is social work? So, social workers help people find services and get access to resources. They provide people with individual, group, or family counseling and therapy. They help communities and groups provide and improve social and health services, and they engage in social justice practices where they participate in the legislative process. They might work with politicians in order to change policies. For example, if they cut resources for a specific community, they can work with legislators and politicians to rally to get those resources put back. A lot of local activists that I know of who are social workers also have been fighting for environmental justice with trying to get the water supply cleaned up because there's a lot of lead and contaminants in the water that are harming people in the community. Social workers follow core values and practices. The values plus the practice can equal family-centered care. So some of the social work core values are service, social justice, dignity and the worth of the person, the importance of human relationships, integrity, which means being honest, and competence, which means knowing how to do your job. Social work practices involve the family and treatment meaning coming together to talk out issues and problems, because sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody else than to talk to somebody in your family. They also help to identify strengths, and they provide clients with respect. Self-determination, meaning that they try to help the clients to learn to help themselves. And they reduce barriers, meaning if a client is having a hard time dealing with systems, like trying to get an application filed, that social worker will remove that barrier by helping them with that application or helping them with parts of that application they don't understand. They also advocate for clients, which means they go to bat for them. They're like, I'm here to help you, and if you're having trouble fighting for yourself, I'm going to help you and fight for you. They also provide people with support, just in general, overall support. Everybody needs somebody. So, what can you do as a social worker? Because social work isn't just one type of work. It encompasses all types of different jobs that all fall under the helping profession. So on the micro level, and that's on the more individual one-on-one level, like the counseling level, you can be a clinical social worker who works with patients to provide them with counseling if they've been in a crisis or they've been having a hard time, or a psychiatric social worker who can prescribe medication if needed. There are child and family social workers and medical social workers who are the people who work in the hospitals alongside with the doctors to help with planning care. Then there are substance abuse social workers who help people who may have drug or alcohol abuse problems that they're trying to overcome. On the meso level, there are school social workers, like the social worker who works here at your school, probably reaches out to your family when need be and is here to help if you're in a crisis. There are community social workers, people who work within the community who sometimes come into the school. There are health educators and social service managers who run different agencies outside of the school, who work with either nutrition assistants, they may work at homeless shelters, they may work in different agencies around the neighborhood providing help and services to families. On the macro level, which is a bigger level, that's the level where you're really trying to have an impact on society. That's more the social justice level. You might work to change public policy. You might work doing research to change public policy. And you might work with community planning and organizing. So to sum everything up, the three practice areas of social work are micro, where you're working directly with individuals or families on things from access to housing, healthcare, to treating mental health, behavioral and emotional health as well. The meso level, where you're working with groups and organizations such as businesses, neighborhoods, hospitals, nonprofits, and small-scale communities. And macro, where you're working towards large-scale systematic change in social justice, petitioning governments for community housing, organizing activist groups, and stuff along that model. The social justice component falls on the macro level. So what is macro level social work? Macro level social workers work with large groups of people, communities, cities, and major institutions. They work to promote systematic change, and possible career options would be a public policy analyst, a public policy advocate, political lobbying, community organizing, or leading a nonprofit. So, for example, there are nonprofit agencies out there that do a lot of environmental work, like I was saying before, where they work to force cities and government agencies to use spending on fixing the infrastructure of the communities in terms of like making sure the water supply is clean and functioning properly, making sure people have access to services, and funding is going into areas that actually help people. So how do social workers help individual people and families? What they usually do when you come in for counseling or they're working with a family or an individual is they gather information and intelligence to find out what's going on. They assess the threat and risk and develop a working strategy. So if the person comes in for help and they're in like immediate danger, then the social worker has to assess what's going on to see what they are going to have to do to help that person to be safe. They consider powers and policy. They identify options and plans for that person, and they take action to review what happened to that person. They also provide that person with a statement of their mission and values of the agency that they work for. Different places that social workers can work and provide services are places like refugee resettlement services, people who are trying to come in from the border, Veterans Affairs, actively in the military, community corrections, substance abuse treatment, mental behavioral health care, disability services or services for the elderly, child and family services, education, healthcare, and local and state government services. The opportunity to serve. Social workers help people in their everyday lives, providing services to individuals, families, and communities. With a social work degree, you will identify and serve clients who need help with a wide range of challenges, including poverty, addiction, mental health issues, or family welfare issues. A social worker's duties might include researching, referring, or advocating for community resources, such as food stamps, child care, or health care, that improve a client's well-being. Working with clients to assess their situation, needs, strengths, and support networks. Responding to family crisis situations, such as family violence, child abuse, or neglect. Helping clients through major life changes or challenges, such as unemployment or illness, and addressing social justice issues in daily work and through policy and advocacy. They also have the big responsibility of maintaining case records and files. So some of the most famous social workers are like Dorothy Height. She was born in 1912 and she passed away in 2010. She was the godmother of the civil rights movement. Dorothy Height was a women's rights and civil rights advocate. Height began her lifetime of advocacy by campaigning against lynching as a social worker. She established the YWCA Center for Racial Justice, and she was the founder of the National Women's Political Caucus. And she led the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years and co-organized the famous 1963 March on Washington. Height received both the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. Another famous social worker is Alice Walker. She's known for a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Color Purple. Critically acclaimed author Alice Walker began her journey as a women's rights and civil rights activist. She worked as a social worker, teacher, and lecturer, and became recognized for her work with the civil rights movement, fighting for equality for African Americans. Her third novel, The Color Purple, was made into a Steven Spielberg-directed film. The movie received numerous awards, including 11 Academy Award nominations. In 2005, the movie became a Broadway musical. How can you prepare to be a social worker in the future? You can right now work on your social and emotional learning by practicing self-management, by managing your emotions and behaviors to achieve your goals, practicing self-awareness to recognize your emotions and values as well as your strengths and challenges. Be responsible with your decision-making, so make ethical and constructive choices about personal and your social behavior. You should practice social awareness, where you can show understanding and empathy for others, and work on your relationship skills. That means forming positive relationships, working in teams with your peers, and dealing effectively with conflict, which can be hard sometimes as you're transitioning into middle school. So 8 things that new social workers would need to know about people. And this goes for you here in school too, with your peers and your teachers. Every situation is unique. Respecting people doesn't mean that there is no bottom line or one final answer. Don't punish anyone for their behavior. Listening will help more than talking. Some people like to talk you to death. Sometimes it's better to listen. People treat others the way they have been treated. People need to know you care. So sometimes if people are treating you poorly, that's because that's the way they've been treated. And the best thing to do in those situations is show people that you care. Patience, empathy, and goodwill are the skills that a social worker should have. And you can start working on those skills now if this is something that you think you want to do in the future. So start today with a random act of kindness. Social workers spend each day engaging in acts of kindness. Science shows how it makes a difference. So after you watch the video today, I want each one of you to write down one random act of kindness that you plan to do today. And that will start you on your path to a possible career in social work.
Sometimes it's easy to feel like the world's getting harder. But if we look closer, on the news, on the web, on the street, we're anything but unkind. Every day, we hear new stories of people trying to make the world a better place. And together, we can make the world that little bit kinder for all of us. It all starts with just one person, you. The thing about kindness is that it's just about the only thing in the world that doubles when you share it. And it's a fact, backed by science. Studies have shown that if you perform just one random act of kindness a day, you'll not only reduce your stress, anxiety, and depression, but your body is flooded with the same hormones that make you and the person you've helped calmer, healthier, and happier. Serotonin, which heals your wounds, helps you relax and makes you feel good. Endorphins, which reduce pain. And oxytocin, which reduces blood pressure and makes you feel more loving and loved. You'll both be more energized, feel less aches and pains, more confident, and could even live longer. And if other people see you helping someone else, they'll be filled with those same feel-good hormones, meaning they're significantly more likely to pay it forward. Like taking that extra moment to hold the elevator for someone, spotting a coffee for a stranger who's just a few cents short, giving your neighbor a hand with their groceries, even just smiling and meaning it. It doesn't take much, but it can make a huge difference for everyone. Those people you've helped will help other people, and those other people will help even more people. And those random acts of kindness can start a chain reaction that can spread across an entire community, a city, a country, and with enough of us, the world. Now, isn't that the world we all want? And it all starts with one.